Hi everybody, Brian King here from iPhone Central. This conversation has come up with my clients a lot recently. The struggle that they have remembering anything for any more than a few seconds. And that includes instructions you've been given, directions given to you verbally to get from point A to point B, or something that somebody said to you during a conversation. And you remember it for a second, then it leaves your mind, and then you're stuck wondering, do I ask them to repeat themselves? Do I pretend that I heard them and risk a misunderstanding? Because growing up, many of us are scolded for asking somebody to repeat themselves. They say, oh, you should have been listening the first time. Or if you really cared, you would have been paying attention. When the reality is it has nothing to do with our desire to pay attention or our desire to remember. It has to do with something called working memory. And for people with Asperger's, autism, ADHD, and maybe some other learning differences as well, working memory deficits is very common. So what is working memory? It's one of the many executive functions. Now, there's a misnomer around that term, executive functions. Some people say, well, it's the skills executives need. Wrong, okay? Executive is another form of the word execute, meaning to take action, to implement. So there are things in our mind, certain capacities, organization, time management, prioritization, doing things in an organized plan and executing on that plan. If you have executive functioning challenges, you have difficulty doing all of those things, okay? So in one of the groups I participate in, a mother just kept harping on the fact that her daughter knows what to do. She can even tell you what she's supposed to do, but she never does it. Ding, 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 executive functions, okay? She understands it conceptually, but she doesn't know how to create a plan around it and then how to execute that plan. So this is the one thing that her mother didn't seem to get, because she believes those two things are the same skill set. You know, being able to tell you what you know versus demonstrate what you know. The demonstration requires executive functions. You with me so far? Okay. So back to working memory. Working memory is that part of your memory that holds the information that you need long enough to execute it. So let's say somebody gives you a 3-step thing they want you to do. Do this, step 1, step 2, step 3. Great, got it. Now I'm supposed to do it. If you have working memory deficits, you have to not only have room in your working memory to hold on to the instructions, but also the memory of how to execute it, okay? 2 different sets of instructions. Remembering what the instructions are, and then remembering how to do those things. Case in point, whenever I foolishly try to assemble anything in my house, fine motor dexterity issues, I have to have the directions in front of me the whole time. Because if I read the first direction and then go to do it, I'd say about 80% of the time, I forget what I've just read from here to here. So we're talking a matter of 1 or 2 seconds. Now, as part of the diagnostic testing that I took for my ADHD and dyslexia, I learned that my working memory is in the 3rd percentile, okay? What that means is that my memory is only better than 3% of the population. So that's pretty sucky. I have a hard time remembering anything. If you want me to remember anything at all, something I need to do, especially later in the day, you better watch me write it down, or you can forget that you've ever told me. Instructions in class were difficult for me to follow because I really can't remember anymore. Maximum of 3 steps, and that's really if I'm paying attention. And those have to be simple steps. And I better write them down really quick. If I am reading something off the board, I know some people who can read a whole paragraph and then write down that paragraph. I need to write maybe half of the sentence, look at my paper, write it down, look back up, read the rest of the sentence, look back and write it down. So I was always behind everybody else because of my working memory. It wasn't because I wasn't motivated or because I wasn't trying harder. It's because my working memory was simply not wired for that, okay? So with the instructions, And this is pretty much a lesson for everybody that has a similar challenge to mine. The instructions are a hard copy, ready when needed storehouse for the information that you need in order to execute, okay? So if you can't hold that information in your head, have it written down, have it in some form for ready reference. I keep so many things in folders in my computer, and I have a couple programs that I use. Google Drive, which can hold any document you put in it. Evernote, which is it's kind of hard to explain what it is. You kind of have to look it up. It's really handy. But the important thing is, any set of instructions or any to-dos that I need to remember throughout the day are synced from my computer to my smartphone, so I don't have to remember them. Because my brain, my working memory, needs to be available for actually executing on these things. So I put the instructions someplace else that I can reference as many times as I need to, so that I have a better chance of freeing up that 3% so I have what I need to execute, okay? And one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves is, oh, I'll remember. Don't worry about it, I'll remember. And there are kiddos, oh, the sun's coming out. And there are kiddos that stubbornly refuse to own the fact that they have memory issues because they somehow believe that having a need for unique help in some way is a comment on their worth as a human being. That couldn't be further from the truth. All it really means is that you require specialized resources to get the same results. The heck is wrong with that? You know, if anything, it means that you're resourceful because you've come up with solutions other people haven't. While everybody else is doing the same thing in the same old boring way, you're doing something brand new. And I'll let you in on a secret. If you do some research, you'll find out that a lot of CEOs, including a few billionaires, have dyslexia, have ADHD, and they do a whole lot of creative things to manage their day. And I guarantee you, they didn't get where they were at the top of the hierarchical food chain there in the business world. They didn't get there out of luck or because somebody did them a favor, and they sure as heck didn't get there because they were doing it normally. They were doing it like everybody else. They got there because they're resourceful, because they learned to solve problems creatively all throughout their lives. That's why they're at the top of the food chain. So one thing I really want you to warm up to right now is having to create these unique solutions to the way your unique brain works. These are going to make you so valuable out there on the job front because you can show up and you can solve problems quickly, you can solve them creatively, you can think outside the box, while everybody else is still trying to remember what the textbook taught them in college. So that's a brief overview of working memory and what you can do about it. If this has been helpful for you, feel free to share it freely to teachers, parents, grandparents, that aunt that doesn't seem to get it. And hopefully this will be helpful for them too. Again, I'm Brian King, and I'll talk to you later.